Well, hello there and welcome back into the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. I'm your host, Sam Hind, and this podcast is all about helping you grow your direct selling business. Yes, we talk most of the time about how to do this utilizing the incredible tool that is social media. You literally have the world at your fingertips. The question is whether you pick that tool up and use it effectively. And so what I want to talk to you about today is how we do the most important part of social media, the social part. How do we start appropriate conversations? A question I get asked all too often. Sam, I've got people liking my content, people following my page, but how and when do I start a conversation with somebody? Well, I'm going to spend this episode today talking to you about some techniques and tools as well as some scripts that you can use to help you do this not only appropriately, but effectively. So let's jump on in. So today I'm really excited to share with you some techniques that I've been using for many, many years, whether it be on social media, through email, through networking, even in person. But I want to give you some ideas on how you can appropriately start a conversation that not just leads anywhere. We want to start a conversation that builds a relationship. A little reminder for you, I know you know this, but I'm just going to remind you again because I think this is so important. People are not buying your product. They're not buying the business. And look, we all know that, but I think that we lead so often with the conversation about the business and the product because we don't value the one thing that people are actually buying, and that's us. People buy from those they like, know, and trust. You are the one thing that sets your business apart. You are the only thing that makes your business unique. And whether you believe it or not, people are in fact buying you. They want to know you. They want to get to know you. And so one of the things we have to remember as we build our business, as we use social media, is that the thing we really need to be leading with is us. But so often it's the hardest thing to lead with. Do you know, I was having a conversation just recently with another speaker who I often come across when I'm keynoting at an event. And she's been in this industry far longer than I have. And she said to me, Sam, what's your story? And I said to her, well, actually, that's the hardest part of my presentation. You know, at the beginning of all my keynotes, I share a little bit of my story, who I am, why I do what I do, and my backstory in this industry. But every time I go to do that presentation, Greg and I have an argument over the fact that this is the one part that I feel I shouldn't be sharing. Why? Because it feels self-indulgent, because it doesn't feel relevant, because I feel like people are there to learn about social media, not learn about Sam. And I sometimes have to take a little bit of my own medicine and remind myself that this is the very thing I'm teaching you guys every day. Now, interestingly, the speaker I was talking to watched my presentation and she said to me afterwards, without knowing just how I felt about my backstory, she said to me, Sam, that was one of the most powerful stories I've heard. She said, that was the best part of your entire presentation. She said, everyone in the room was leaning in, including me. She said, please do not ever remove that from your presentation. And it was just such a good reminder that we all struggle to talk about ourselves. We all struggle to share our own stories and be that little bit self-indulgent when it comes to building the relationship. But if you think about it, in any friendship, in any relationship you have, you don't build those relationships by only talking about the other person. You don't build those relationships by sharing all the things you know and the facts you've got in your head and the wisdom that you hold. You have those relationships because at some point you let the barriers down a little bit and let that person into your world. And it's no different when it comes to growing a business and using social media online effectively. Now, let me be clear. This doesn't mean you need to get super personal and share all the ins and outs and ugly truths that are your life. It just means that we need to be a little bit us and we need to share a little bit of what that looks like. It might be, a few things that we know we have in common with people. It's simply talking about things that matter to us as much as the things that matter to them. It does go two ways, but I just wanted to be really clear about that because when it comes to starting a conversation, it needs to come from a genuine place of, I care about this person, I want to get to know this person, and I want to build a genuine relationship. Yes, you want to grow your business, but I also want to throw something very important out there. One of the other things I've learned in my years in business is this. One of the most powerful things you'll ever do is networking. But when you enter into connecting with people with an objective and a hidden agenda in mind, you are the one that's going to miss out. Because more often than not, there is a hidden gem in that relationship that you don't know about. What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is you don't know if the person that you're about to develop a relationship with is going to become a customer, a team member, a friend, even a family member, or perhaps somebody who will become a mentor, or, and here's the last one, I want to be very clear about this, someone who's going to teach you something very important. You know, over the years, I have connected with some people that at the time did some things to be hurtful, rude, all sorts of crazy stuff. But those people, when I think about it, all taught me something incredibly important at the time, that if I'd gone in, as I did in many of those cases, with an objective in mind of what I expected to get from that relationship, I totally missed what I could have had. You know, one of the people that I have got in my world right now is one of my most respected mentors. This is somebody who has literally changed the trajectory of where I am professionally right now by guiding and steering me into some new spaces that I wouldn't otherwise have considered, is somebody I actually met 10 years ago. And the reason I missed out on the opportunity to have what I've got now back then is because I went into the relationship expecting something completely different. And I tried to steer that relationship. I wasn't open to anything outside of my expectation of that person. After many years of being good friends with this person, I finally developed the relationship into a different direction purely because I allowed that to happen, not because I was steering it. So I just want to remind you, as you start conversations with people, be open-minded about where they could go. You don't know if this person that you're about to talk to is going to become a new customer. It might become your new most powerful team member, but it may also become somebody who challenges you, grows you, mentors you, or just becomes a really great quality friend. There's one other thing that you may get out of each of these relationships that you need to keep in mind. At the end of the day, that person may not become any of those things, but that person is connected to many other people, and you never know when you might get a referral because you've still invested in the relationship genuinely and the right way. And that's what we want. Word of mouth, the most powerful piece of marketing you could ever do. Okay, so let's have a little bit of a look at ways you can start a conversation. So I'm going to just paint a little bit of a picture here. Let's say you are on Facebook. You're using a Facebook business page to grow your direct selling business, whether you're in party plan, network marketing, you might identify as MLM, it doesn't matter, whatever that is. And you've got your business you're growing on Facebook. Now, right now, you might have a following of, let's say, 100, 200, 300 people, and you're getting the odd comment on your post. And you're wondering to yourself, I don't want to hound and hassle, but when is it the right time for me to do an appropriate reach out? Because you want to take those conversations offline, right? Well, I'm going to give you some tips right now to help you do that. And I'm going to give you several different ways you can go about doing it. The first thing to keep in mind is that when you're creative and clever about what you post, you can actually instigate those conversations straight from the posts themselves. For example, one of the things we talk about a lot is lead generation by using lead magnets. A lead magnet is where you simply provide something that is a piece of value and you dangle a carrot. Now, this looks a little bit like this. Let's just say you've got a recipe for a vegan cheesecake. Now, just being very specific here because you want to be specific with your audience. You've got a recipe for a vegan cheesecake. Yum, yum. Definitely something my husband would love. And you have got this recipe. You know that your audience people who would be your target audience would be interested in this recipe. But the challenge you've got is you want to have interactions, right? So rather than just simply posting the recipe to your feed where people can grab it and move on with their day, instead what you're going to do is dangle that carrot in exchange for an interaction. So put up a clever post, something that shares maybe a picture of the cake that you've made. It's always good to share a photo that you've taken. It looks more real and people are more likely to interact with that. And then let people know, here's an amazing recipe. I've just made this. The kids love it. Everyone loves it. It's vegan. It's dairy-free. It's da-da-da. Happy to share the recipe with anyone that wants it. Just comment below and I'll send it through to you. Now, essentially what you're doing is saying, I have a piece of value, no string is attached, but I just want to know who wants it. So what you're going to do from there is as people comment on your post, you're going to then send them a private message. And in that private message, you're going to provide them with the recipe, but it also allows you to start a meaningful conversation. Ask them a question. This is the best way to start. One of the best pieces of sales advice I ever got, and I still use this every single day, is when you don't know the problem, when you don't know what the objection is yet, when you don't know why they're not buying or how to steer them to the sale just yet, when you haven't had that aha moment, ask another question. So when you're unsure, always ask another question. The more you can get to know about them, the more it's going to uncover about them that's going to help you. It's going to build the relationship and it's going to show them that you actually care. So send them the recipe and ask a question about them. Ask a question about why they asked for the recipe or what you've just identified about them. Ask them, who in your family is vegan? Have you got many vegan recipes? Have you cooked anything like this before? I've also got a vegan this recipe, would you like me to send that through as well? Get to know them, use the opportunity. Okay, so that's number one, using lead magnets. That's one way to do it direct from your page. Another way to do it direct from your page is by simply asking clever engagement questions. This again is one of my favorites and we use this often. Asking simple questions that help you get to know them, that help you identify your audience, and then allow you to start genuine conversations is also really powerful. So one of those questions, to give you a little bit of an example, might be something like, if you could pick one of the following for the next 12 months, which would you choose? A personal chef, a gardener, a cleaner, a personal trainer, or a nanny. You pick whatever you want. Pick a number of different things based on what you know about your target customer. And then ask them which one they would choose. Now, when they write back, you're able to then ask another question in the comments. And when appropriate, you can then send them something of value based on what you've just learned. So if you've just learned that, hey, they love gardening, but they don't have time to do it, why not send them through your latest gardening tip or piece of advice that you've learned, or a picture of your garden, or ask them for a picture of theirs? Why not send through a recipe if you find out that they want a personal chef because they're not great at cooking, but they love good quality food? Whatever it is that you find out, this is going to make it easier for you to start a meaningful conversation. That, of course, then leads to you being able to serve them better by identifying two key things. What are the problems in life they want to solve? And what do they value and care about? Those are the two things that lead to any sale, any new team member, and most importantly, are going to help you develop the relationship. So the more you can get to know those two things about your customer, the better it's going to be, and the easier this process will be as well. Okay, so next let's have a look at some of the other ways you can do it when you haven't had direct interactions that allow you to make these, start these conversations. So let's just say you've got someone who's following your business page and you've noticed this person, maybe they've interacted a couple of times, but not in a way where it's yet appropriate to do a reach out. Well, there's a few things that you can do. One thing I will say is, when possible, when you're sending a personal message or a messenger, always opt for a voice note if you can. The reason I say this is a voice note is really quick, it's really easy, it's faster than typing, and most importantly, you can use their name. Now, everyone's name is their most favorite word. They're programmed to be on the lookout for it. It releases a hit of endorphins every time someone hears it. It is their favorite word in their vocabulary. So when you use someone's name, it in itself is powerful. The other thing is that when you send a voice note, people know it wasn't a mass copied, pasted message. Also very important. Okay, so a few things that you can do. The first is if you can find out what someone's birthday is, whether it be on their personal profile or whether you've seen them mention it before or whether you know it through personal channels. Reaching out to do birthday messages, really powerful. And again, if you can do that by voice note, is so much better. The reason I say this is particularly with social media these days, you'll notice a lot of people will simply do the happy birthday, picture of a cake or emoji of a cake, moving on. And I think that's really meaningless. You get dozens and dozens of them every birthday and you see all these people doing it. Look, I'm not sort of discarding the fact that these people have made an effort, but the ones that really stand out are the ones that go to that little extra bit of effort, that leave a voice note, that take a photo that you know they took just for you. The best one I've ever got is actually a video. Somebody recorded themselves using a fun filter in the Messenger app of them singing happy birthday to me. Again, it didn't take them very long to do, but oh my goodness, did it feel personal. I really felt like they'd gone out of the way, and this was someone I didn't know very well, but they'd gone out of the way to do something to make me feel extra special, and they succeeded. So just think, what can I do to stand out just that little bit more to everybody else? If you're going to choose to do the mass copied and pasted messages that everybody does, trust me, people know. And I really think in many cases, it can be a little bit of a waste of time. So make it super personal. The next thing I will say is when you ever send any message, I'm about to give you some scripts to give you a bit of an idea. And with this podcast episode, I'm going to give you a very special download of these scripts to help you with this process. But I want to be very clear. The scripts I'm giving you are a guideline. I really want to encourage you to use your own words. Remember, this is your personality. This is your recipe. You are what you're selling. So you've got to show up as you. If the words I've used in these scripts are not words you would use, change them out. Just use the framework as a little bit of inspiration and a guideline to help you with this process. Okay, I've got a few key things that you can do here. The first one is utilizing things that you notice. So I'm just looking down here because I want to make sure that I'm giving you exactly what I've put on this script worksheet for you, or this little download for you. The first one are things that you notice. So I've titled it changes, but what I'm looking at here are things that you can learn from things like their personal profile. Now, we don't want to be kind of creepy and weird about this. So there's going to be some people it's not appropriate to reach out to yet, but then there'll be others where it is. So the first thing is, if you've been actively commenting on people's posts, and that doesn't mean being the annoying person. I mean, if you've been spontaneously interacting in a post from here to there, then it's going to be pretty easy for you to send a messenger message out to some of these people if you notice a big change. So what I'm talking about here when it comes to big changes, maybe they've moved house, maybe they've gone on a holiday, maybe they've just had a new child, maybe they've just welcomed a new puppy to the family. Any of those sorts of things that you see that they've posted about on their feed, instead of just simply commenting on the post, you can send them a private message, congratulating them, asking a question, or providing a piece of value. So for example, what I've written down here is, hey, blank. So let's insert the word Greg in here because we all know who Greg is. Hey, Greg, you just came across my feed and I noticed that you have just been away, moved home, got a puppy, had a baby, started a new job, had a child start school, whatever that might be. How was the trip? How are you settling in? How's it going? And then you could add to the end of that, I just thought I'd drop you a helpful little recipe or how-to, or I just wanted to ask if there's anything you need because, we had a puppy. We no longer have a puppy because it's grown up, but I've got a really cool something I'd love to send you, or, I'd love to gift you, whatever. You get where I'm going with this. But the idea is, think about how can you impart on that person? How can you provide some value? And how can you get to know them genuinely in a way that they actually care about? Okay, so that's about noticing changes. That's one way you can go about doing this. The next one is I've written books, and I love this. You can do this with podcasts, movies, whatever that might look like. But this one looks a little bit like this. Excuse me. Hi, Greg. I just finished an awesome book that I think you would be interested in checking out. I thought of you specifically. I would absolutely love to gift you my copy if you think you might like it. So this is really simple. This is saying you've been on my mind, I'm thinking of you, and I've got something I'd like to gift you. Now, this person may not want the book, but they're still going to feel good about the fact that you considered them. And that's going to lead, hopefully, to a response. Now, does this mean that you jump straight into the sell? Heck no. Remember, value first. And if you haven't listened to my episode about the date, then ask for marriage, I highly recommend that you do. But these are all ways that you can have that first date so you can start to build that relationship. The next one is recipes. These are a really fun, easy one and are so relevant to so many direct selling businesses. So this one looks a little bit like this. Hey, Greg, I discovered a great recipe I've been playing with for whatever period of time. Or you could insert the specific, what's the word I'm looking for, thing that you've been playing with. So it might be vegan. Let's go back there again. So it might look something like this. Hey, Greg, I've discovered a great recipe I've been playing with since I've been investigating vegan recipes, whatever that is. The kids love it. And I remember that you are gluten-free or vegan, etc., too, and wondered if you might also like to try it. I'm happy to share the recipe if you're interested. So again, this is a way of showing them that you've paid attention, that you've noticed something about them, and then providing them a little piece of value. Again, make this your words, do it your way. I'm just giving you some little suggestions here to help you along the way. The last one is around interests, and this one's really powerful as well because it also shows that you are paying attention. So this one looks a bit like this. Hey, Greg, I just came across this podcast, series, movie, and I thought of you. Have you seen it? Share a link or the name for bonus points. Add a quick comment about why they might like it. So remembering this is about taking what you know and applying it in a meaningful way. So there's lots of different things you can play with here, from what you observe about them, maybe from comments that they've made, from things that they've said on social media, from comments they've made on your posts, through to things that you've learned through conversations. Use those things, and I really encourage you, take notes. You can't rely on memory all of the time. So as you start to notice these people and you think this could be somebody who might be someone to me, whether it's a customer, team member, mentor, friend, any of those things I mentioned before, you don't know yet, but jot down what you get to know about them. There are loads of different ways you can do this. You can do it through an online CRM. You might be with a platform that makes this easier for you, or you can do what I do and go a little old school. And I use things like my little black book, just a little book where I write down the names of people that I want to stay in contact with and what I've learned about them. Their kids' names, what they do for a living, when their birthday is, things that are going to help me to genuinely care about them. And this is the last thing I want to mention here. And, it can seem, and to me many years ago, it did seem a little manipulative to be building relationship with people for the purpose of growing my business. But I want you to open up the mindset here for a moment, because whilst we are trying to grow our business, we're building relationships for the purpose of growing us. Our business grows when we grow. And the most powerful asset that you have other than yourself is your network. Your network is your net worth. So treat this like an opportunity for you to grow your net worth by growing your net work. So have some fun with this. Get out, build those all important relationships. Try some of these scripts and make sure that you go to those show notes to grab the little gift I've got for you, some little downloads that you can utilize to help you with this process. I also want to steer you towards our website, where we have got free trainings and, of course, free challenges. If you haven't heard about our challenges before, you are missing out, that we're running from time to time. And I would love to include you in the next one of those challenges. To find out a little bit more about that, you can go to www.go.oxano.global. Let me try that again. www.go.oxano.global. We'll put the link to that in the podcast show notes as well. But my main thing here is go ahead and pick up those tools, because at the end of the day, knowledge isn't power. It's only potential power. It's not until you use it that it helps you grow and achieve your amazing goals. So join our next free challenge. We'd love to see you there, and go ahead and have some fun with these scripts. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. It's been such a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you on the podcast again next week. That's it from me. Bye for now. Thank you for joining us in this episode of the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. If you love listening and you found that this was helpful for your direct selling business, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also check out the recommended video that's popped up on your screen right here. I look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye for now.